maybe we could start from the beginning. What was it like when you found out we were at war?
Well, when it was the beginning, when the war broke out in 1941, we were 15 years old, we were in school. So at 15 years old, you don't know too much about the war. You were thinking about it and thinking about it. Gosh, you gotta do something because you had that big sign, Uncle Sam, I want you. Remember that big sign, the figure sticking out? I said, I want you. So a young fella, Dieter Orr, and I, we decided to go in the Navy. So here's 17 years old, you can go in the Navy, drive to Albany, you go through the physical and everything, and when it comes to the end of the physical, I was rejected. I said, what's right? He said, you're colorblind. I said, I'm colorblind. He said, yeah, you can't read the proper letters and all these dotted spaces. Dieter got in. She said, Dieter, you're going in the Navy, and here I am home. What am I going to do? I said, we both wanted to go in the Navy, so nothing I could do. They rejected me, I couldn't do nothing. So I said, Dieter, come on, we'll go up to the state building. Went up to the state building, and I went in, I said, I need a birth certificate. Mine was lost, and it was written wrong. They gave me a new birth certificate and changed one letter of my name. Went back down, went through the whole physical again. When it comes to reading the colorblind, I flunked again. Couldn't get in. I said, I can't, you can't get in. So you have to wait till you're 18, then the Army can draft you. So a few months later, I became 18. Well, before that, right after we got done with dinner, trying to get a Navy, Doug Gare, I said, come on, Doug, we'll go to New York and I'm going to sign up for the Merchant Marines. Here I was 17 years old in pickup driving to New York, and you didn't have superhighways. You had to go town to town to town through all the red lights. It takes about 8-10 hours for me to go to New York City. So I went to New York City, Broad Street, went upstairs to the Merchant Marines. I signed up for the Merchant Marines. They said, well, we'll let you know as soon as we can. I said, okay. From there, we drove across and went to New Jersey, stood there a day or two, and then we came home. Didn't hear from them, the Army got me. Right up in the Army, so down to South Carolina we went to the Army, had our basic training down there, and down there you had 16 weeks of basic training, and you had rough training. You have to crawl under muddy fields with barbed wire up in there. If you hook on the barbed wire tank, it hook and tear, and you hated to do it. You didn't want to do it, but we had to do it. And then you had bayonet training, had all this rough training. After this training, then they shipped us to Wisconsin, at McCoy, Wisconsin, for winter maneuvers. So we went through all the training again on winter maneuvers. And then in November, we were shipped to Camp Miles in Massachusetts, and we boarded on the SS Brazil on Thanksgiving Day. And that evening, we had our dinner on Thanksgiving Day on the ship, and that evening you can feel the ship shaking. I said, uh-oh, we're on our way out. And we got up in the morning, we looked, all there is ships all over the place, of a large convoy. And the water was rough during the month of November going over in the early part of December. And from there, it took us 10 days. From there, we went to Southampton, England. That's where we landed. And from Southampton, England, we went into Burma, where we stood for a couple of weeks. And from Burma, then we got on the LST, and we landed in Le Havre, France, on an LST. I think it was the second week of January. And I was only 18 when we landed. So I was 18 years old. And when we landed, you think you'll find a place there to stay. No, the Army wasn't that way. We had to walk about 10 miles, 12 miles in slush, snow. We were all wet, cold, into an open field. It was a blizzard, that open field. It was so cold, everybody was shaking, you had your backpack with you. And it was so cold that 4 of us used to sleep in a 2-man puck tent We got in and we helped against one another, and we never moved all night from body heat to freezing. Some had frostbite toes, some had frostbite fingers. That's how cold it was. And from the heart, from there, we got rid of our backpack because we didn't carry all that stuff through. And when we found the cow barn, it was heavy. It was heaven to sleep in the cow barn because it was warm. But outside it was cold. And as we progressed through the Ardennes, we jumped off the Siegfried Line at 11 o'clock at night, 2300. That's 11 o'clock at night to take the pillboxes the Germans were holding. It took about a day and a half. So we got them in about a day and a half, and we progressed as we go along.
Oh, we can sit back there.
Should we be going along as soon as? But I know. It wasn't me, I don't think.
That's taking it South Carolina basic training. The other fellow was from Vermont, Griffith was his name. And that's South Carolina basic training. And that's the SS Brazil. That was a private ship that held 500 and some odd passengers, paid passengers, converted it into a troop ship, and it carried for near 5,000 members of the Army. And they were stacked like, in bunks, 4 or 5 high. And you take the ones up high, wasn't too bad because they got sick, them poor fellows below really got sick.
And that's how you travel through?
That's how we travel, but I and a few other fellows, we slept on deck all the way across the ocean. We slept on deck, we couldn't stand the ocean. There's 3 of our Jeep drivers, Jones, Karras, that's our Jeep drivers we had over in Germany. That's our captain, Don Hickman. He was the captain of I Company. And that's Lieutenant Don. He was a lieutenant in the 3rd platoon. And that's headquarters. Headquarters are these fellows that done a lot of the cooking for us. And that's our outfit, the 1st platoon. I'm sitting right alongside of Lieutenant Galenas. I'm on Galenas' right side.
Down here in the front.
Right in the front.
This one? No, it's not.
Right here. That's me.
This one right here?
That's me alongside Lieutenant Galenas.
Okay. That's the 2nd platoon again. 3rd platoon.
That's the 3rd platoon. No, that's the weapons, I think.
That's 3rd platoon. Okay, there's the weapons platoon.
All right. See, I was in the 1st platoon.
Okay. All right.
That's taken in England. Can't remember the town. The next town was Vermont.
And that's where you went for
Christ Church. That's the name of the town. Christ Church. And that was Southampton. There's the open field in France.
Okay.
In
That's
France,
the
the heart.
snow and the
Those are
pump
the fields
tanks.
we stepped in. 4 men in 1 pump tent to keep warm. That's where we stepped in. That's where you can see it. That was heaven when we found the cow barn to sleep in. That was heaven. That's some of our medic Jeep drivers. Your medics did not carry a weapon. They weren't allowed to carry a weapon. Because and that's one of our boys, I can't think of his name. But he's one of our boys. And that's some of the rules going over in Germany. When you want to say the name, you can, but then you get away from it, the name comes up. He was right alongside him is a foxhole, a little foxhole they dug out. There's another
So that was a
foxhole. See, back then, you don't have trenches. You were paired up with a person, and you had dug a foxhole. And at night, you slept, one slept, and the other stood awake. And when it was time, you would knee him a little bit. He'd wake up, and he'd watch, and you'd sleep. We alternate after that. There was 2 men in each foxhole. There were no trenches, all foxholes. That's that's the weapon platoon on the march going from one town to another.
So you traveled from town, you walked?
We
from town-
walked, and some we rode in trucks, and they packed us so tight in a truck you couldn't even move. That's one, I think that's Miller. He's looking over a dead soldier, German soldier in front. That's some of the tank, and there's a dead soldier in front of him too. German soldier. Those are all tanks. That's all German and anti-tank. I forgot what town that was in. I can't remember them all. And when we had to cross some of the rivers, they took boats right alongside of one another, and they were all hooked together, and then they planked them right across. That's how we crossed, the trucks crossed and everything. On some of the larger rivers. But the smaller rivers, we had to cross by ourselves. And sometimes the water was up to our waist. We held our rifle above us, and I was really scared. The reason I was scared, I didn't know how to swim. Because if you went down with your equipment and everything, it's heavy. You got your belt, you know, with all your shells and everything. And I was scared when we got across the river and get on the other side of the bank. We would take our clothes off, socks off, and wring them as dry as they can, put them back on, and keep going. We didn't have no change of clothes. No change of clothes. From the time we left England till the time we got our first rest area in Aldrich, Germany, it was about 40 days. From the time we left Germany till the 40 days, that rest area was the first time we had showers. Can you imagine going all that time without a shower? You kept clean as much as you can. That's all. That was our first shower in Aldrich, Germany, for 40-some days, from the time we left England.
And only one set of clothing, no matter the season.
Well, over there, we had winter clothes. They were ODs. OD was winter. And when you go through your photos, you see way back in July and August, you still saw us in winter clothes, OD clothes. Because in the summer, you have khakis. They're lighter weight. And you will see, we still had winter clothes when we left Europe to come to the States. When we landed in the States, we still had winter clothes on in August. That's one of the towns where we captured many, many Germans right there. Many Germans was captured right there. There's Aldrich. That's the first rest area we got. We got thrown into everything, and we were so happy. 3 days of rest. We got our showers and everything, and back up to the front. Those are, I don't know who took those photos. I can't tell you. There's some photos, they're all the German landscape, the people, the farmers, and all that.
After we speak, we can look at these closer later.
Yeah, they're the same, but you're gonna see.
Casino, does that say? Does that mean casino like it does?
And that's just the name.
Okay.
That town, I forgot the name of that town, that's where we got a lot of supplies in that town. Okay. And that's a German home, that's one of the German homes that we captured, and some of the officers slept in there. And those German homes were built with cement. Some of them windowsills, there was cement, I bet they were that wide, cement. They were well built. That's some of the ruins over there. More ruins. There's a young lady from Germany, what town, I don't know. And you didn't, very often, you ever saw a pair of horses. You see a horse and a cow pulling. That's where they were, horse and a cow. Don't know them young ladies. You always see cow pulling a hay wagon at farmers. That looks part of a town named Wayland. Looks like. No, that's Wayland there. That's Wayland. But some of them have the names in here. That's one of your super highways. Whoever took these photos, I don't know, but on the front line, you don't have a camera. You got an M1 rifle. But this probably headquarters, that's Altenburg Airport. That's us. When they brought us up there, it was either June or July in Altenburg Airport. They said, you want to go and see us? I said, yes. That's me standing up, looking this way. That's me right in the middle, standing up. And that's my Fox old buddy right on the tailgate, Walter Howard. That's Albus, he's in a German piece. His name was Albus. And there's little Neggia on a Sherman tailgate. And all the rooms. Some of the German planes were all rooms. There's some of our boys. That's Sergeant Bayless. Oh, he was a nice sergeant. Very nice. There's Kelly. Now this Kelly, he was brought in, I don't know when. We were in Germany. We were losing a lot of men. And we were getting short again. And then they brought in just our platoon, 5 men. And they were called, when you had basic training, you had 16 weeks. They only had 5 weeks. They were like a replacer. Because with General Patton, when you lost one man, he put 2 in his place. So he didn't care how many men you lost. That's why he was called Blood and Guts. Our blood is guts. And Kelly was with us. And the 4 fellows were picked up by us, right there. And he was left. And we looked at each other. We don't want nobody. We had all we could do to take care of ourselves. What are we going to take care of somebody else? And he was there standing. He said, somebody's got to take this fellow. He's the only one left. We waited and waited. After a while, I said, I'll take him. He came with me. And they told Kelly, you go with Neggia and he'll show you everything, what's got to be done on the front lines. So when he come to me, the first thing I said to him, I said, listen, Kelly, you're with me. I'm not going to be watching what you're doing. You're going to be watching what I'm doing. You're going to be behind me. If I hit the ground, you hit the ground. Don't you get up till I get up. And if I get up and hit the ground again, you hit it again. I brought him back home. He followed every step. Because I'm not going to turn around and see what the heck he's doing. He's back to me. He's going to see what I'm doing and do what I do. That's the way he got me trained. And he said afterwards, he said, I can't live through this job. Cold and fine, so I want to get the hell out of here. And there was an opening in the kitchen. He put his big, and he got the opening in the kitchen. So he left, he went with the kitchen, but then after the war was over, they were all transferred back to their original places and came back with me. Howard Kelly from Queens, New York. That's me in the German Altenburg Airport. That was all Altenburg Airport planes. That's Kelly. Now see, here we're on our way going to France after the war was over. And you notice we were all in boxcars. They were called 40 and 8. And they says, what do you mean a 40 and 8? I said, yeah, the boxcars were 40 and 8. They says, what do you mean? I said, 40 and 8 meant the boxcar carried 40 soldiers or 8 horses. That's what they carried. They were called 40 and 8. Either 40 soldiers or 8 horses. That's me sitting on one of the 40 and 8 boxcars. We were traveling. We were on our way to France, and back France to a camp for embarkment back to the United States. And they had different camps. They had Camp Chesterfield, Camp Campbell, Camp Lucky Strike, Camp Old Gold. That was in Camp Brazil, and we came back on, forgot what it was. Well, anyway, it was on that ship, on our way back, and on the 14th of August, all the guns went off on that ship. We're looking at each other, saying, what's going on? What's all this shooting? He said the war in Japan was over. So we were en route to the States. From the States, we'd go to Georgia, get retrained, and go to Japan. But on the 14th day, the shooting, Japan surrendered on the 14th day. So the war was over. We landed in Staten Island on the 17th, 3 days later. But if you look on the calendar, I think you will find BJ Day on the 2nd of September. As far as we're concerned, the war was over on the 14th of August. There was no more shooting, no more conflict or anything. But they signed it a couple weeks later. But General MacArthur, they signed the peace treaty on the USS Missouri, called the Big Ball in Tokyo Bay. I mean, they could have signed it 2 months later. That don't mean the war was over. That's when they signed it. The war was over on the 14th when it was done with. And as far as our soldiers, the war ended on the 14th of August, not on the 2nd of September. Because they're not going to take that away from you. That's when it was over. They could have signed it 2 months later. They signed the peace treaty, yes, but the war was over prior to that. Just like over in Europe, the war was over on May 8th. On the 9th, they were already signed over. That's our division, 76 on the way back to the States. That is Staten Island where we landed. We landed in Staten Island. That's some of our boys over there. That's the town. One of Jim Keith, him and his son went over because his father was one of our lieutenants, and they went over to these towns. And they saw what the town was years ago and what it is today. That was back then. It was a big change.
Is that the same one?
No,
No, that's not it. Okay.
If you notice, it's summertime, we still got our winter clothes on. Notice that? Those are some of the places that our cooks cook instead of out in the tent. They cooked in these places, and that's where you wanted to go get something to eat. You go to eat. But on the front lines, you ate K rations. They were like a Cracker Jack box. It had Spam, crackers, cheese, and on the top had 3 cigarettes. Always 3 cigarettes, either Camel, Chesterfield, and we had Cracker Jack box, and we had combat jackets. They were great combat jackets. And they had a lot of pockets, and we used to fill our pockets with it because you don't know when you're going to eat. But when you did get to eat, I liked it. A lot of times it was dark, and you ate in the dark. You followed the fellow in front of you. Where he went, you went. If he went in the ocean, you went in the ocean with him because there was no lights. And we used to get this gravy, brown gravy with beef on toast. It was good. I liked it. But then after a while, I got sick of it. And the fellows didn't like this. And they would ask, well, what you got tonight? They said, SOS. I like that SOS. Nobody knows what SOS is. Back then it was called shit on a shingle. That's what it was called. And it was good because at least you had something warm to eat. And then they gave us K rations. Now K rations we had. Then they gave us C rations. C rations were in a can. You put a can of C rations in your pocket and you hit the ground. That hurts. So we got rid of the C rations. We stuck with the K rations. They're like a Cracker Jack box. We filled up. That's how we ate. We ate mostly K rations. We didn't get much food. If we did, it could be 10 o'clock at night, and you were lucky if you got it once every 10 days or once every 2 weeks. You didn't get food every day. No breakfast, nothing. You ate off the K rations.
Oh, so I think that was 1945 and that's 2010.
Yeah. There's Lieutenant Keith's grandson right there. And that's the monument that they presented for the 76th Division. And the fellow that gave me a lot of photos is right there on the right, that's Jay Hamilton. He was a lieutenant. He was very good. That was taken in Economic. If I remember right.
Yep, it is.
And they said, you got the letter from the Battle of the Bulge. I was not in the Battle of the Bulge. We were in the town just below the Battle of the Bulge. The town was Ornhopper, Dickweiler, and Oswald, something like that. Well, we took the town of Dickweiler, just below. Being you were in that area, they considered you in the Battle of the Bulge. But as far as being in the Battle of the Bulge, I was not in it. Some people say, yeah, you were in it. I know a fellow that was in the service. He was younger than I am. He was in the Battle of the Bulge. I didn't say nothing. I said, it was over when I got over there, pretty good. But we were involved in that area, and we were the second town just below it, and we took that town, and they called it the Battle of the Bulge. John Harvish was another man who was there. He was in the 99 outfit. He got it too. Now this is the Bronze Star. Now I cannot tell you one battle from another. I'm sorry, I can't, because I didn't keep up with it. But the VA in Elizabethtown wrote to the Army for me, and it was by name, and they wrote to them and asked them to send me whatever ribbon or medal.
Oh, no.
Whatever ribbon or medal was awarded. And this is what all these medals I got.
The generator's working,
Generator's on.
but this is,
That's gonna be dead, but that was, I think, the last image, to be honest.
okay, so we're close to the end anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's not close to the end of what I want to tell
Oh,
you.
you
No,
can tell.
keep talking.
No,
No.
I guess I'll have you random.
Like I said, as we were going through France, through Belgium, and some of them foxholes we were in, it was cold. I mean, you had the same clothes on. And all we carried was a poncho and a blanket. We had a piece of rope, carried it on your back. Naturally, you had your little shovel and stuff, but as far as warm, that's all we had. Some of them had poncho and raincoat. I didn't like the raincoat. Raincoat hung down and you got wet. A poncho, you can kind of spread it out. And that's how we were in a foxhole, trying to keep the water and store. But some of them foxholes were so cold that you shivered. I mean, you shivered and your teeth were chattered. Tears are running down your eyes. And then all of a sudden you hear something up in front. Let me tell you, the hair on the back of your head stood up. And I'm telling you, I'm not ashamed to tell you, there was time I was afraid. Made the hair on the back of your head stand up and you're shivering and you couldn't do nothing. And you hear something. Good thing it could have been a dog or an animal or something. It wasn't a person. But we've had it rough. And then we lost a lot of men. Sergeant Nicer, very nice man. We had to stop in town in Ornhop. And we had a bloody battle there for 3 days. We're in Ornhop, and we happened to be in town just talking. All of a sudden they said, everybody up in the front having another counterattack. So I took my M1, Sergeant Nicer, the BAR, he took the BAR, put the ammo on, so both of us started up. And we usually stay about 20, 25 feet. You don't go together, you stay apart. And then they shell and hit the ground, we get up, go more, hit the ground. And then after a while, we hit the ground. Sergeant Nicer said, John, I'm hit. And I looked and I see him down, so I went down and I rolled right over to him. I rolled right over to him. And he said, before I could say anything, he said, John, keep going, they need you up there. I said, I'm not going, I'm staying with you, Sergeant. He said, John, we are go. I said, no, I am not going, I'm staying with you. The third time, he looked at me and he said, this is an order. Take the VR and go. Tears, tears in my eyes. I left him my M1, took his PR, and I went. And it was the next day or the day after, found out he didn't make it. And go find out he was shot by a sniper in back of us up in a tree. That sniper could have got me too, but he didn't. He got Sergeant Nice. I never forget that man. If it wasn't for him, they probably would have gotten me after a while. It was rough. I mean, it's no picnic. I mean, when you're in the States, you go through basic training, you come home, and you meet the Mascarinas, Hank Blaho, and we go out, we drink and have a good time. Then when it was over, we go back into the service, and it's time for another furlough. It just happened that we hit the same ones all the time. Once in a while, Daniel Fernandez. I have an old international pickup, and I don't know how we done it before. We still sit across the front. I'm driving, another guy is shifting because it was so tight. So we would have some great times. Never forget them fellas. I always think of them, even today. I go to bed and there is not one night that I don't think of someone overseas that we went through. You can't get it out of your system. You can't do it. I can, anybody have any questions? I'll try to answer the best I can. And she'd have to talk to her because she'll tell me that I'm not that good at hearing.
The BARs, John, were the Browning automatic rifles. The BARs.
The BAR,
Were
is
the
that,
Browning automatic rifles.
The BAR is the Browning automatic rifle.
Serious weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had a bigger clip and a larger shell. The M1 had the, what is it, caliber 30, 32 caliber, the M1. And they had 9 shells in a clip when you put up. And you want to be quick in putting in that clip. Because if you weren't quick in putting in that clip, you either, when you shot, you had a black eye, a chin, or your thumb. And when the 9th shell is shot, that clip flies out, you throw in another one. And we used to put, sometimes we used to put every third one, I'm trying to say it, not phosphate, it's
Tracer.
tracer?
About every third one you put a tracer, see where you're hitting on the target. About every third one. And in the service, you do not call it a gun. You called it a weapon or an M1, M16. The only thing you call a gun is a machine gun. All others are weapons. All right?
John, did you stay in the service after you came back stateside?
Did you stay in the service after the war was over and you would come back?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. What we went through, we wanted to get the hell out of the service. What we went through. I mean, a lot of people, sure, they made a career out of it. But what we went through, we want no part of it at that time. We want no part of the service. But it was an honor to serve my country so these kids can live in a land of free. But what we went through, time to get out, we got out because we had enough of it. And then we were on our way to Japan. Good thing it was over before we landed in Japan. I mean, 18 years old. You got kids 18 years old are just ready to graduate high school. And here, 18 years old, I'm over there under General Patton.
John, you might tell them, remember the knife you showed me, the story how you got that knife? When you're going through the town,
The story of when you got the knife?
the town where they made those knives, I looked it up.
When we were in this town, somebody happened to be in a warehouse, and this warehouse was full of knives. And there was a German knife. And one side, you opened it this way, it was like a pick. and the other side, you just push on the button, you went like that, and the blade flew out. The blade on one end, pick on the other end. When you wanted to close the blade, you just went like that and lock it. But the pick, you brought it in. You can snap that blade out. I still have it home, but it's been dropped by someone, and it doesn't work right. I wanted to get it fixed, but I don't know how it can be fixed. It's a German knife.
Remember guys
Still
up
have
there,
it.
paratrooper's knife, they got, so they had one hand, they drop it, up there, shoot. And the pick was to take it apart.
Talk about parachute knife. There was one town that we took over, and then we were out in the field. It was an open field. And in that open field, planes were coming over, parachuters. And they were being dropped, and we could watch them, you know. They were near us, they were watching them. And when they got just so high off the ground, the Germans opened fire on them. They never had a chance. I mean, and nothing we could do. We're so far away, but you can see them. And then after a while, there was a B-26. And right above the B-26 was the P-51. P-51 can travel. That Mustang, P-51. That B-26 was dead. It conked out, and it was coming in for forced landing. It was gliding them down to the valley. See, what we had for planes was the P-47, the Thunderbolt, and the P-51, the Mustang. But we like that Mustang. That thing can move around. Once in a great while, we got the P-38. They had the twin fuselage, the 38. But that 47 and 51, they're a great fighting plane.
What was your kit like? I assume you're sleeping outside, like you mentioned, two-man tents. What type of sleeping gear, or what camping gear? were
What
you
kind of
issued?
sleeping gear did you have?
What kind of sleeping gear?
Yeah, I mean, you're living outside.
The clothes that we had on was our sleeping gear. We didn't change clothes. We carried a pair of socks sometimes. They called cushion sole socks. They were a little thicker, but we had the same. Everything was brown. Your underwear was brown, undershirt brown, toilet paper was brown, socks, everything was brown. There was no other color. You couldn't tell if a guy was dirty or not. Everything was brown. And we never got a change of clothes till we got back in the States. And that was in August.
So you went in November, was it?
We went overseas on Thanksgiving Day, November, and we came back in, landed in Staten Island on the 17th of August.
Same clothes.
Was there any blankets in that kit?
Did you have any blankets?
Just your army blanket.
Yeah.
That's what we carried all the way across. An army blanket and a poncho, that's what I carried.
Yeah.
We didn't have no gears like you see on TV, everybody has a backpack. Oh no, we don't have a backpack. Fighting in the front lines and hitting the ground and trying to hide. If you're in a little foxhole, that backpack is sticking up, they know where you are. No, we didn't have any of that. And in the movies, you always see trenches. If you had all them armies in the trench, one shell, you imagine what one shell can do to all of them? No, we were always separated. We never walked in a group, maybe 5, 10 feet apart. Well, even on the march to go town to town, never hugged. And we used to be so tired of walking from one town to another. When you got a 10-minute break, rest, you'd be standing against a tree or a post or something, and you'd be surprised that 10 minutes, how many of them fellas fall asleep, ready to move out, they had to be woke up to keep going, or they'd be right there sleeping. That's how tired they were. They fall asleep, and it was in that 10 minutes. I mean, it's hard. I mean, you explain it, and you can't make this up. The person goes through it, you can't make it up. If a person made it up, he'd never be able to say the same thing the second time. And I can tell this over and over 100 times, and it'll be the same.
What an amazing story.
It's a true story. That's all I can say. It's a true story.
When you got home, did you have a job waiting for you? Or what was the job that you went to?
No,
as an
when we
adult?
got home, there was no work back then. You know, the mines are very few working, there was no work, and they got what they call unemployment. So you got unemployment, and then you wasn't getting enough, then the Army came up with a 5250 club. That was unemployment. What the 5250 club was, you got $50 a month, 50 to 20, no. You got $20 a month for 52 weeks. That was a 52-20 club. And when that exhausted, and you still didn't have any work, they extended another 13 weeks. But the 52-20 club, you got $20 a month for 52 months. That was their unemployment towards us, because we didn't have work. Matter of fact, some of us even left town, did our R and WWII, and we went to New Jersey, went and got jobs. And we come home, and we only make $20-some a week, and we come home from New Jersey every weekend. And when I got tired of driving, WWII drove, because he was a good driver. He was with us all the time. There's a nice band at WWII, and did our R, and it couldn't come any nicer.
You mentioned that the Japanese surrender happened while you were under sail. Did you get word of the bombs? How was that news received with the troops?
How did you get news of the bombs in Japan?
Oh no, I don't know, because all I know is we're on the ship, and I think they dropped the first bomb, I think it was on the 6th in Hiroshima. And they dropped the second bomb on the 9th in Nagasaki.
Yeah,
And then 5 days later, they surrendered the 14th.
they'd had enough. They had enough after that.
Yeah, I guess so.
And
Yes.
you heard that news on board ship? Was that news traveling around?
Yeah, we heard it on ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that a
You'd be
surprise?
surprised the size of the convoys that they had going over England when we left. No matter where you looked, there was ship after ship. And up about 1 o'clock from us, there was an aircraft carrier. And somewhere on the Atlantic, they got the word submarine. When they got that word submarine, that aircraft carrier moved. I've never seen a ship that can move as fast as that aircraft carrier. It got out of sight. It got out of there. I didn't think they could move that fast, but they can move. And some of these soldiers that were on ship, I was on a Brazil, which is a good ship. Some of them were on these Liberty ships. And these Liberty ships used to crack in half. They were just put together. And the wave was so high, you're in this ship, and you look at the next ship, sometimes you couldn't see it, and then other times when the wave comes up, you could see the propeller right off the water. They were just like floating on them Liberty ships. They said they were bad. I don't know. They said some of them cracked in half. They were just put together quick to transport things. These Liberty ships. But I was lucky. I was at a good one.
I have a question. What did you do in the foxholes when you were waiting, or?
What did you do in the foxholes when you were waiting?
What I do in the foxhole, what can you do but just sit and try to keep warm and be quiet. And when you were so cold, you couldn't do, I don't think we could shoot if anything came. We used to have our bayonets, and we'd fix our bayonets on the end of our rifle, and we'd have that sticker right up in front of us. I don't think, we were so cold and so shivering that I don't think we could have shot. We couldn't, I don't think so. Good thing we didn't have to, but I don't think we could. That's how cold we were. And it's day in and day out. The Ardennes was cold.
What was the date when you left New York for Europe? What year? What was the date?
What date did you leave for Europe, the month, day, and year?
Thanksgiving.
We went on Thanksgiving Day, in 44.
Oh, okay.
That would probably be what, around the 26?
Yeah, somewhere around.
Something like, in that area, 24, 26, on Thanksgiving Day. We were in Camp Miles Standish, Massachusetts. I like him, he asks questions. I like that fella. He asks
My
questions.
wife's father, Alan McDonald, was D-Day +1, right? Or D-Day. But he would never talk about
Mr. McDonald, yeah.
Mr. McDonald, he was part of D-Day,
it. He was D-Day +1,
D-Day plus
but-
one.
meaning that he landed the
In
second.
Normandy the second day,
Yes, but he would never talk about
and he didn't talk about it.
No, back then World War II, I'll agree with you, back then World War II soldiers, when they come out of service, they did not talk about it. I was married, my wife didn't know what was going on. They didn't talk, it's just, the last number of years, grandchildren and children said, if you don't talk about it now, nobody's ever gonna know what happened.
it. Right.
That's why I broke out. That's
Yes.
why whoever gave me these photos, I put them in here. What literature I picked up from Jim Keefe, I got it here. And my grandchildren, I'll have a book.
I think it's
We-
so
we never
important
talked
that
about
you can talk about it.
Did you, talk to Mr. Hyatt? Did you exchange him with Mr. Hyatt, Ken? Ever talk to
Did you
Ken
ever
Hyatt?
talk to Ken Hyatt about the war?
No.
You know, in the last years,
Yeah.
8, 9 years ago,
I know the last.
I asked him about it, and he told me, and I wasn't trying to cry, and I said, when did you get over there? He landed the day after D-Day. Second day, they hit the shore, and he was at the searchlights, and, you know, but he said, I was lucky, Tom, because the infantry were in front, and his brother was there, and his brother was killed somewhere in France. But he said they had the searchlights, and he said you'd have to do these flashcards, and, you know, because you look up, and you'd have to say, shoot it down or not. And he said, we'd have these phenomenal different planes, but he told me quite a bit, which I, you know, and I never, nice man, he just said,
They
he
didn't brag
said,
about
no,
They
he
kept
said,
it
I
all
was
to
on the
themselves.
7th of June, he said, and he said, we were there about 10 days, just waiting for our equipment to get unloaded, follow him in. He went all across France, and I don't know how, but his brother, he said, was another outfit, of course, but he said he lost a brother, you know, over France.
I give a lot of credit for the servicemen in this country that was our instructors. If it wasn't for these instructors to train us what to do, we would not know what to do. Don't send me over there at 18 years old to do something. What am I supposed to do? I don't know what to do. They trained us. I give these, same way with these kids in school. Listen to your teachers. They're your instructors. They're training you for the future. These instructors, I give them a lot of credit for what we went through and what we put. We called them all kinds of names. We used to have to go on 15-mile hikes, full pack, 10-mile hikes, and you'd come in and you'd have blisters on the end of your heel from walking so sore. You take a needle and you break that blister. Oh, it hurt, but it felt so good. And then if you wanted to go to town the next day, you got a free pass, but you have to be all cleaned up, your rifle, your backpack, everything had to be cleaned and inspected. If it was clean enough, then you got a pass to go in town. And if you failed, there's a lot of them failed walking because they got tired and they didn't want to walk, so they dropped out. That's all right, they dropped out. They got picked up. But when another outfit went for that hike, other platoons, they had to join them and do it. They didn't get away with it. They made them take those hikes.
We have another question in the back.
What was the first thing you looked forward to doing when you got back?
What was the first thing you looked forward to doing when you got back?
Well, when we got back, you know what it is, you're young, you get mascot and Hank Plow, we go out We didn't cause no problems, but we always had a good time. There was always the four of us. If they weren't, did get in with sometime in his home, Manuel Fernandez would get in, but we're always together. We were one group. And Dinner or, good friend of mine went together. You can put him with 50 people and walk down the road and you pick up Dinner the way he walked. And Johnny Mascarenas, mascot, you can put him in front of all the people and work close or not, his shirt will always hang out. That's just the way it was. That's mascot. And Dinner the same way. He had that little cake. You can pick him up. All the people. There's Dinner. Oh, there's a mascot over there. He was clean. There's nothing wrong with him. It's just the shirt did not stay. We had some good buddies, I'll tell you. Good buddies. Never forget them.
Well,
And they're all gone. We used to get John Mashenko, we called him Chief. We started going to the reunions. Our first reunion was in West Point, and we enjoyed it. And from then on, we went every year. We went to a reunion where they had it. And I missed two out of all of them. My mother-in-law had her hip done one time at that time, and the second time I lost my brother. We had to stop in the car to go to a Niagara Falls meeting. Well, I lost my brother that week. So them were the only two meetings we lost. And the last meeting we held was in 2007. They were coming in with canes. They were coming in with wheelchairs. They were coming in with oxygen. And I guess they decided, let's call it quits. It's because a lot of them couldn't come. They wanted to come, but they couldn't come on account of their health. So in 2007, in Herndon, Virginia, was our last reunion we had. And what money and all that we had, some of it was donated to the military servicemen that were going to school. Others were donated to the history.
Oh, I know you ate the rations, but what point in time did you carry a mess kit? Did you ever get to where you actually cooked and you went and got your mess kit and they put your knife, fork, and spoon in the old army mess kit? Or you never had that at all?
Did you ever have a mess kit?
A mess
It's
kit?
in,
You
a
always
mess
carry-
kit for eating. You know,
For eating?
Yeah, you always carry that.
Well, no, you said you had to
You carried
carry
that, and you also carried a cup
Right.
that was with it to drink.
So you did have a tin mess kit with a knife, fork, and spoon.
Right,
When
right.
you got a meal, they slopped it in.
Right.
And the cooks did.
Yeah, it was aluminum,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, and you also had a cup.
And your silverware was 3 separate pieces.
Right.
Now, Chief Mashenko,
They locked right in.
Chief
And
had
then they
one.
had the little P-38, everybody knows, anybody knows?
Yeah.
Can opener.
Yeah,
Can opener.
Little can opener, P-38 we call it. And I used to carry a little bottle of iodine. Iodine back then, it had the rubber tip on the end where you could squeeze it and you put the drop. I carried a bottle of iodine with us all the time because when we were thirsty, we didn't have nothing to drink and we got water out of a brook, you don't know what's in it. We take the canteen we had, put a little water in it, or put a drop of iodine in it to kill the germ. It didn't taste good, but it killed the germs and you had something to drink. Then if you got a scratch or something, you had that iodine. You went like that, but if you use the iodine that they give you in their kit, you really dance. That's what they call.
the reason I asked you is Chief Mashenko, when he died, Marty showed me, he left a few things, an artifact. He had a German, not the whole mess kit, but the knife, fork, and spoon. Did you ever see a German one? They are engineered, like it's, you know how yours were together? These are like perfection. The swastika, and Marty got it somewhere. He showed it to me. It's pretty neat the way the German engineered their knife, fork,
Right.
and spoon.
See, Chief was in the same outfit we were. He was in a 417, I was in the 304, the next regiment was the 385th. Chief was a little bit closer to the Battle of the Bulge,
Yeah.
and then we were next. But I can't forget Chief, I hate to say it, but right to this day, I said, chief, it can't be. We jumped off the C3 line at 2300. It's 11 o'clock at night. And as we jumping off, we're going up through, chief said, John. Didn't answer. Kept working our way up through, John. Didn't answer. Then he told me, he said, I've been calling you as we were going up through, and you never answered it. Till today, I don't think it was me.
He tried to sound somebody. You all looked like you're all brown.
We all had brown on, you can tell.
Still, he always said that. That was you, Nedge. Nedge, that was you. I said, gee, chief, I don't think so. Because if I heard him, I'd have answered.
When you showed the pictures, all those airplanes? the
Yeah,
German
I'll
airplanes,
bring that for you.
Yeah, what took those out? Was it all our big bombers?
What took them down? Oh, I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
When we were in the town of Panic, when the war was over, and when the war was over, then a few weeks later, they asked us, you want to take a ride to the airport? I said, sure, well, that's why you see that convoy. We went up to see all that, otherwise we wouldn't have known it. But I don't know what took them down. And I got on the tail of the plane, and they took that picture of me on there. Yeah, that was, and I was talking to Danny Bryan, when he read that and saw that, he said, you know, I've been to Altenburg Airport 2-3 times. I said, you have? I said, yeah. I said, I was there in 45, I got you beat.
Well, I'd love to give everyone a chance to mingle, take a closer look at the photographs. So if we don't have any further questions, I think we'll wrap up the formal portion and let everybody chat for a bit. I want to thank John for coming in tonight. This was very
Anybody ever
enlightening.
want to look at it, let me know, because I got to figure what you can have, because the next person that wants it, and he's been waiting since last fall, is young Bill Anderson. You know, all know. He fell and he hurt himself, and he wasn't able to get to it, so that's why Stu's got it. But I got to get it to Bill, and then whoever wants to borrow it, they can always borrow it.
Well, and I would say we have digitized the entire album, so with your permission, folks could
Yes. Yes,
retrieve
yeah,
a
my-
digital copy as well.
Yeah, my permission, yes.
Thank you. So, yes, thank you.